So I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, and having rewatched Twisters, I thought now would be the perfect time to do so. Now, when I heard that we were getting a sequel to the iconic film Twister, I was very cautiously optimistic. This movie was a staple of my childhood. The first film is in one of my top 5 favorite films of all time. Now that Twisters has been out for a while and I've had lots of time for the film to digest, I can honestly say Twisters is a solid, fun popcorn flick. It's fast-paced, has lots of action, and a great soundtrack. But I couldn't help but feel like there were little things that were keeping Twisters from being a truly perfect sequel. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Twisters. In fact, it was one of my favorite films of 2024. So, let's get into it. Does Twisters fly, or does it get stuck in the suck zone? This is Twisters. Now, starting off, it's great that the film opens and we already see a callback to the original film in Dorothy. Now, I love this, that this one is Dorothy 5, because that means that somewhere between the first film and this film, this crew went around, or someone went and found one of the original Dorothys and repurposed it for the Dorothy in this film. I just love that that's a little, kind of behind the scenes canon that this film kind of gave us a hint towards. Now, the film opens up with an inciting incident where the main character, Kate, loses almost all of her storm chasing team in an F5 tornado. This, of course, mirroring the first film where Jo loses her father to an F5 tornado. From this point on, the film follows a similar story structure and story beats as the first film, but it's different enough that it kind of makes it its own story, and I can really appreciate them trying to do something different and not trying to carbon copy exactly what the first film did. They also made the right choice in making sure that this new cast wasn't, less impressive versions of the first film characters either. The other thing the film knew to do right was to bring in some iconic hero vehicles for our new crew of storm chasers. While Twister had Joe's iconic J10 Jeep and Bill's iconic red Dodge Ram 2500 truck, Twisters has its own version, with Tyler's red Dodge Ram heavy-duty 3500 to bring this cast of storm chasers on its tornado wrangling adventures, with this vehicle being the franchise's most tricked out storm chasing vehicle yet. Even the villainous Stormpar team gets their own fleet of new Dodge vehicles. I also appreciated that each of the Stormpar vehicles were named after characters from The Wizard of Oz, carrying on the first film's legacy of having equipment or storm chasing vehicles or tech named after characters from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Serenading our storm chasing teams is a killer soundtrack comprised of the best of today's country music artists. It's a 10 out of 10 soundtrack for sure, with Shania Twain being the only returning artist from the first film's soundtrack. Now, Twisters has some amazing storm chasing sequences, namely the first storm chasing scene where we meet Glen Powell's Tyler, the F5 power plant explosion sequence, which is my personal favorite in the film, as well as the finale's F5 tornado sequence. And this film has some great comedic moments as well. However, I do think the film isn't perfect and definitely has its shortcomings, some that are glaringly obvious, which is a shame because all of these things are very easily fixable. The biggest of which is that there's no connection to any characters from the first film. In fact, Dorothy is the only connection to the first film at all in this movie. Which is also a bad look when your only connection to the first film is openly mocked by the film's main protagonist. You're not gonna win any fans over that way.
If Dorothy's not working, then forget the data, okay? We'll worry about it later.
Forget the data? What
The tornado's not gonna wait for us, Javi.
There's a death ridge setting in. Probably our last chase of the season.
It was also glaringly obvious that Daisy Edgar Jones's Kate needed to have a familial connection to Joe and Bill from the first film. It was also obvious that Maura Tierney's character was clearly a replacement for Helen Hunt's Joe Harding. despite Tierney turning in what I think was a great performance. I think having Kate be Bill and Joe's daughter would have been very well received by the fans. It also would have explained where Kate's team would have gotten the Dorothy tech, as that's also never explained in the film. I think if they implemented Dorothy into the new tech that our new team of Storm Chasers were using, it also would have been a great way to carry on the legacy of that tech and device from the first film. Also, the plot of taming a tornado somewhat removes the stakes out of the film's story and honestly kind of sounds hokey. We're here to watch people in cool trucks chase storms, though I imagine in real life a way to stop tornadoes would be very beneficial, but not in my summer blockbuster popcorn flick. Plus, we would never be able to disrupt a tornado in real life anyways. Also, the film's soundtrack is way too crowded. They fly through songs in this movie, and they don't even get through all of them, not that I could hear anyways. In the rodeo sequence alone, I think I heard close to 5 songs in less than a minute, one of them being Boots Don't, which is the only song featuring returning artist Shania Twain. You'd think they'd give her song, some time to breathe and have a moment in the film, but they don't. The soundtrack also misses clear rock, alt, and indie songs that filled out the first film soundtrack instead of having a purely country influence. However, I do think the best song featured in the film is Steal My Thunder when Kate and Tyler go storm chasing together. It's just a really fun song for a really fun sequence.
You stole my heart, steal my
You don't have to drive into it. It's really dangerous.
Oh, that's why we have to drive into it. Can't miss from in there.
Oh, shit.
Look, this thing's rated for EF1 escape. We got extra weight on the chassis. We got anchoring down 2 feet. Don't worry, I'm a professional.
You're an asshole.
Hold on.
Oh, Tyler, this is dumb.
Hold
this is really
on.
dumb. This is really dumb.
And speaking of music, the film's soundtrack is okay at best. Mark Mancina did not return to score this film, and his score is very sorely missed. Just once while I was watching the film for the first time, I was waiting to hear that swelling, triumphant score and theme from the first film. Including it in some way, I think would have gone a long way with fans, as well as making it feel more like a Twister movie. However, I do think the film score is at its best and comes into its own during the film's finale, as Kate drives Tyler's red Dodge Ram right into the heart of the F5 Twister. As far as characters go, I think Daisy and Glenn were extremely well cast and their chemistry is amazing, which just makes you feel bad for Anthony Ramos's Javi. Clearly he doesn't stand a chance in the fight for Kate's affections against Tyler. Tyler's storm crew is a fun bunch as well, but they get very little screen time outside of Brandon Perez Boone, who actually ended up being my personal favorite character in the film. Another missed opportunity was there was no scene that showed the camaraderie of Tyler's team. The dinner scene at Aunt Meg's from the first film was a fan favorite for a reason. It showed the team as people, what made them work. It showed their camaraderie outside of storm chasing. So we never really got to care for Tyler's team because of this, especially since a scene like this was filmed but ended up being cut out of the film for whatever unknown reason, only being included on the deleted scenes of the home media release. In fact, you can see remnants of this scene during the film's end credits. I also think having Kate and Tyler be the ones to take down the tornado at the end of the film would have been a better choice than having Kate do it all by herself. Yes, Kate needed to avenge her fallen crew, but Tyler was the one to help her achieve that. It would have made the audience root for both Kate and Tyler instead of having Kate have that lone hero moment to herself. Akin to both Bill and Joe sending Dorothy into the F5 at the end of the first film together, giving both characters their hero moment. Another moment that I think would have went a long way with fans. Also, I just wanted to say that there was some great cinematography in this film, and the film looks its best when it returns to that warmer color palette akin to the first film. Overall, I think Twisters is a solid film. Is it as good as the first? No, absolutely not. But as far as standalone sequels go, it's pretty darn great. I hope if we ever get a follow-up film that we get a return of some legacy characters and a chance to care more about our new protagonists, as well as a return of the original score that we all know and love. Cause we all know one thing's for sure, if you feel it,
You should chase it.
Here she comes. Girl, you stole my heart, steal my thoughts.